Hi, Rheta West here with another ramblings of a redheaded bodybuilder with her friend Carol Bennett, who's another bodybuilder, but she doesn't have red hair. She has blonde hair. But the two of us are going to talk today about female bodybuilders and the use of social media to showcase their muscles. For whatever reason they're doing that, it's the easiest means to do so, and we're just going to chat a little bit about it. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Rita. How are you?
Good, and you. And and
Good.
actually, Carol's helping me out huge because this is the first time I've ever tried talking back and forth with somebody on my ramblings. And so, forgive me if there's any weirdness, but we don't cut. So this is the whatever comes out our mouths, I'm posting. So
That's it.
there we go.
Yeah.
So you had gotten a chance to talk on another podcast and just kind of had some other ideas that you wanted to get across, right?
Yeah. I got into female bodybuilding a little while back, a few years ago. And I thought it was kind of interesting. I did do another podcast on it. And I really want to say that, I gave this a lot of thought the other day. Used to be when if you were a nature lover and you love nature and you wanted to see nature around the world or whatever, you subscribed to National Geographic, right?
Right. Yep.
If you were a house, if you were a stay-at-home mom and you wanted to organize your house and have a really good bundt cake recipe, you subscribe to Good Housekeeping,
Right.
right? So, if you were a man and you wanted to see beautiful women, maybe without their clothes on, maybe with their clothes off, whichever, or very little on or whatever, you subscribe to what? Playboy or Penthouse, right?
Yep.
And, they would have all these girls in there and they would have their little bios and talk about, that they were Capricorn and they like long walks on the beach and, all that stuff. I feel like social media, and it used to be if you were a bodybuilding fan, there were several monthly publications out there. I mean, my favorite was Muscle Mag because I could open it up and see tons of female bodybuilders and male bodybuilders. And, a lot of times they would feature a lot of girls training and those kinds of things. And I don't really see that in some of the magazines. Of course, a lot of the magazines don't exist anymore, but I don't see a lot of that. And I was thinking about that. And I thought about how social media has changed the way that women bodybuilders are able to reach out to an audience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just thought it was interesting that, women are able to use different platforms to showcase their muscle because it's really not being shown in the magazines. I don't think. Have you seen anything
No,
or?
actually, I was going to say that's interesting that you mentioned that because you're right. No, it kind of makes me wonder, is it because of like, I don't know, just the way of the world today, everything winds up, somebody's too sensitive about that, or this isn't politically correct. And so they stop doing something, I don't know, am I allowed to be called a redheaded anymore? Or am I like copper impaired or something? I don't know, that kind of thing. And, and so I'm curious. It's curious to think if they took it out of magazines because it was deemed like inappropriate or something,
Yeah,
and
maybe as mainstream.
yeah, but yeah, so it's not like it's going away though. So social media, it's a good way to it's a good replacement, for the magazines and stuff. And of course I think that it's reasonable to expect that that's where people are going to go. I mean, guys or whatever. So okay, so where are you going with this though?
Well, I guess so. You have sites like Pinterest, which is like Good Housekeeping, Better Homes and Gardens, and all that, like on steroids. Like
Yeah.
there's everything, right? I think that there are some, you know, bodybuilders out there that may be utilizing other media platforms to showcase themselves, and I think that's a really positive thing.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying.
Um,
There's nothing wrong with it. That's and if it's the only place that they have to go to, then why not? So um
yeah,
So basically, I guess we're kind of touching on what, like on how, other people kind of look down on it.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that okay? Because
I feel like people, I feel like that there's kind of getting a little bit of a, there was a girl that I followed on social media, and I'm not gonna name her. I'm not gonna do that, but I followed her and I really liked her. And she started posting some kind of provocative pictures of herself. She's beautiful. She's a beautiful girl. But then she kind of started a little bit of, you shouldn't do OnlyFans, or you shouldn't do things like that, or you get paid for the way you look, or it's felt like she was kind of going, and I'm thinking to myself, but you're having these professional pictures done that are, kind of provocative, and they're beautiful, but I don't feel like you get to do that.
to say
I think you have
about
to,
it, yeah.
yeah, I think, I don't see anything wrong with it. I went on OnlyFans to look at the terms and conditions,
Mhm.
and nowhere is it written anywhere that you have to provide pornographic content or
No.
take your clothes up, right? So I don't know exactly. I'm not an expert by any means. I've not, I've not made an account for myself, maybe yet, you never know. But I feel like your content is up to you, and I think that's very empowering.
Yes, it is. Yep, and I do have one there, and I know that even like the ads, when they have one, they'll be like on your wall, and it'll say who, I don't know, maybe a showcase that week or whatever. Most often, it's not pornographic. It's like somebody who's like very musically talented or something like that.
Oh,
All kinds
interesting.
of things on there. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, cool. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just, and it was funny because I was actually talking to another friend of mine about this the other day, and she was talking about it, and she said, well, it's kind of funny, she said, now should I maybe have been doing it at 18 versus, being an older, more mature person? She said probably not. So, and I think, I think there's some fairness in that. I think, you and I are probably very fortunate that social media wasn't around when we were young,
Right.
because I know definitely would have been a different thing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah, for any like newer, younger competitors or anything that are, thinking about possibly doing that, I'm not here to say it's good or bad. I think it's an outlet, and I think it is what you make it.
Right. So basically, we're not really, I mean, I guess that could be a whole discussion of itself on, OnlyFans and the good and the bad and the morals and all that kind of stuff. But for women who are using it as a way to showcase themselves, the muscles, to put themselves out there for the audience that they used to have in the back of the magazines, that's definitely one of the good ways to do it. You can charge whatever you want. There's different ways you can charge. There's you have control over what you're putting out there, probably more so than the women in the back of those magazines. And so being as one of the outlets for something like that, yeah, absolutely. And I guess more the discussion is really about whether, is about how, like, it wasn't judged so much back in the days of when I was in the back of magazines. It really shouldn't be judged so much today either. These women choose to do this. If we as women choose to use whatever outlet to put ourselves out there for, basically it's our fans of the female bodybuilders, then that's our choice to do so. And you don't have to look at it if you don't like it.
Agreed. Agreed. You can unfollow, unsubscribe, do whatever you need to do.
Uh,
Right. I feel like it, and like I said, I don't feel like it's something that necessarily has to be, pornographic. I mean,
exactly.
if you want to talk about a slippery slope, I mean, I, everybody's slippery slope is up to themselves.
True. And I've gone down a slippery slope and decided to come back up, decide to put my cleats on and climb back up, whatever. So I understand it exists out there, but again, that's up to each person, and whatever someone winds up becoming comfortable with, and even if down the road they decided that how far they went was uncomfortable and they backed up, I mean, that's just one example of many mistakes that we make in our life that we decide to go back and rectify. So I mean, that's just whatever. It's not any different than and I'm not going to sit here and try to think of an example right now. It's not any different though than deciding, oh, okay, I'm gonna have this kind of job and then decide later on down the road, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go find another job, you know?
I totally agree with that. You know, I think I mean, that kind of falls into the idea of, you know, who you are today may not be exactly who you are tomorrow. And, you know, now you're digitally there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's out there, like whatever you've done or whatever, you know, that's all there. So it's not really like something that you can take back, but you can move forward. You know, so I think it's just funny that, you know, people change and then they kind of get locked into this thing with social media platforms. And truth is, I mean, there's a lot of people I've followed on Instagram who've gone through many changes.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's kind of like been like a documentary timeline, you know, or whatever. So I think people do need to be a little bit more forgiving and be a little bit more understanding of that. Or, you know, I think everybody's guilty of some of that.
Yeah. And you know what people put out there, they have their own reasons for putting it out there too. Everybody's reasons for what they put out there are different as well. I mean, and I've been guilty. I've lectured young girls that were in the gym about taking selfies of their backs with no sport bra on, you know, for example. I'd be like, you can't do that. They're just picturing you with no shirt on, blah, blah, blah. And here I am, I'm in my bathroom doing selfies, but barely can see my entire ass is out there. So it's like, you know, it all changes and, and whatever.
It's different when I do it. Well, I mean, yeah, you know, kind of in a way, I guess, you know, kind of as a just a friendly, unsolicited advice to any young competitors out there. I mean, you do want to think about what you're putting out there. And, you know, like I said, I mean, me at 18 would have been much different than me at currently 53. So, you know, I think you do need to be aware of that. But I don't necessarily think that it has to be a slippery slope. I think you need to have very clear boundaries. Mm-hmm. And I think that you have to understand that whatever you're putting out there, you're doing it strictly for, you know, entertainment purposes or, you know, things like that. And I think that you have to just, you know, not place a lot of value in that. You have to sort of put it out there and then just let it rest, mm-hmm. whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. And you know what I mean, as far as it being an outlet for women. Okay. So it being an outlet for women to showcase their muscles, social media, whatever the platform is. Obviously, most women, and although it can be a very empowering thing, I thought it was very empowering too. Most women aren't just deciding, hey, I look good and I'm going to put myself out there for everyone to see. I think that in a lot of times it's to attract people who might potentially pay for images or pay for video, and it helps make extra money, or it helps pay for your prep. I mean, I don't, you know, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You could be just a model. I mean, I don't care what the reason or the platform is. I mean, you could be just a model who, you know, you're trying to attract other photographers that you want to work with you, and that's the photographer the one is how you're making money. I don't know, but usually I would think that in a lot of ways, it's for some sort of attention that's going to bring you potential income. And so I think that first of all, you know, that women don't have to worry about defending themselves beyond that. Okay. Why else would you be doing it? And that's okay. Well, I mean, I'm sure that there are people out there that have other reasons. I'm just saying that my guess is that the majority of people do it for that reason. And there's nothing wrong with that either. I think that, me personally, I think that one of the biggest things that people need to get over is this whole justifying everything. Do it for whatever reason you want to do it. Other people can subscribe and pay for whatever reason they want to do it. And then we can move on from there, because I mean, there's no point. I don't understand, if you feel like you have to defend yourself, then just why are you even doing it in the first place? If there's something you want to do, just go do it. Nothing wrong with that. Just go do it. And so then going beyond that, I think, you know, like social media, the different ways, it's a great place for women to go to. Or men. I mean, actually, I think men kind of do better than women do. But so yeah.
In some cases, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and they have like a whole different kind of audience too. But yeah. So social media has provided, and when I say social media, I mean for whatever the reason, whether it's to attract you to a different site or just to put your stuff out there in the first place, has given a great place for whatever reason you're putting your stuff out there to go to, since like printed choices have been limited. And and I think that, I don't know, I think I kind of like, I'm curious, like if you take like, say, an underwear model or something that's like some sort of model, or lingerie, let's say lingerie model, right? Who might be out on billboards out in New York City and wearing almost nothing. You know, why is that so much better than a bodybuilder who doing the same thing, trying to make money for prep? I don't understand why I don't understand why the big deal about what we do, you know, comparing them. But I actually kind of just think that's none of anybody's business. I mean, like, you know, if you don't want to know about that, you don't need to. I mean, you know, I mean, we put it out there. It's kind of, you know, put it in some people's faces, even if it's not their business. I guess I understand that, but that doesn't mean anyone needs to participate.
That's, I think the same thing. I mean, I don't know that you could say it any better than that. You know, like you said, I mean, it puts somebody out there. It's, you're not doing anything. You're in the privacy of your own home or your own, whatever you're doing. You know, there's no, I mean, I can give you an example. Like, I mean, I don't, you know, I'm not trying to incriminate anybody, but it's like, you know, a friend of mine, she had gotten ready for a show. You know, a couple guys hit her up and wanted to do pictures with her. And I always, you know, we always kind of paired up and went together, just, you know, for safety reasons. I mean, we should, you know, should have somebody go with you when you, it's another thing, you know, for some of these female competitors, it's flattering when somebody asks you to take your picture and they actually want to pay you. They'll pay you like a little sitting fee or something for doing it. It's flattering, but don't ever go by yourself. You know, have a friend or have somebody go with you. Because she and I, you know, were in a situation, we had gone together and the guy was doing great. He was photographing her. She had a couple little cute little outfits she was wearing. And he said, I got something. He goes, I really have something I really want to, I think you might, you know, be interested in. And he like went to the back of like the trunk of his car. And because we were outside, we were shooting outside. And he pulled this pair of like black assless chaps out. And, you know, and my friend was like, that wasn't really her style. That wasn't really what she was. I mean, I think they're great, but it was not her style. And besides that, I was like, well, who else wore these? Like, how many other people have, you know, used them? Like, I don't know. And, you know, and I just looked at him and I said, she's not using those. I said, you know, she brought her outfits and she's wearing what she wants, but she's not using those. And I think he got like a little offended, like, well, who are you? You know, but I mean, you know, hey, I'm, you know, sticking up for my friend. I mean, those kinds of situations. And if you're a younger girl and you get put in those situations,
Yeah,
you know,
there's definitely a dark side to it, and people are going to
yeah,
take advantage. And I mean, let's just face it, typically they're going to, young girls getting involved in something, you know, with the potential to make a lot of money. And they can a lot of times can get talked into some things, that into some situations that aren't the safest, that they may regret later, that whatever. I mean, and that's just the way of the world. So there is a dark side. There's a dark side to everything, but there's definitely a dark side to this. And you're right. You should not be alone. You shouldn't just, safety sakes. I mean, who knows? You just never know.
you know, and that's why, just, you know, in a nutshell, altogether, I don't, if a girl chooses to do something, I think choosing a social media outlet to do it on is
Right.
a safe way for her to do it.
That's true. Yes, absolutely.
So that's my point.
Yeah, that's actually, I never really even thought about it in that, like, that's a good point. Yeah. So, all right. So I guess that I kind of wanted to like give, I knew this would be easy for Carol and I to like just go off. We could talk for an hour about this stuff, I'm quite sure. But there's several different topics that we could go off on. But we just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about, you know, just putting it out there. This is here. It's safer. It's there's nothing wrong with it. Whatever. There's probably always going to be a stigma, whatever. But you know, people need to get over it the same as they've gotten over other things. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts right now? Because I know that we just talked about this a couple of days ago, and you had other ideas. Was there anything else that you kind of wanted, that you had thought about, that you wanted to talk about real quick?
You know, I kind of had thoughts on just maybe like, is bodybuilding really a sport or is it a pageant?
Yeah.
You know, Yeah, that's kind of
question.
a big rabbit hole to go down. But I found myself wondering that, you know.
Yeah. I think it does depend a little bit on what division you're in. I know that, like, say, for example, bodybuilding isn't as flashy as, say, figure. You know, you don't have to wear all the jewelry and all that kind of stuff. But definitely, I've talked to somebody who was like, her advice to me was, I know you don't want to go out there and shake your ass, but if you want to win, if you want to be, you know, knowing me, the kind of person I am, you know, I did my finals routine was to
It was hardcore.
it was,
It was really hardcore.
I can't believe they're Symphony of Destruction by Megadeth. It's just, you know, knowing that that's the kind of person I am. She was like, I know you don't want to shake your ass. She goes, but if you want to win, you're going to need to go out and you're going to need to be pretty and you need to shake your ass and you need to, you know, do these kind of things. And wow, that's not the shit I'm going to do.
You were like, nope, I'm doing me. Thanks. Which was awesome. I mean, it was, that was a powerful song and a very powerful routine. So that was actually kind of awesome.
And you know what? Every routine I've ever done, kind of like in me, I mean, I'm out there in bodybuilding being bigger than other women tend to be and stuff like that. And so the songs I tend to pick are very like female dominated, like very strong women, or, you know, a situation where you're out there and in the face and maybe aggressive, but it's as in, you know, an aggressive attitude. That's kind of what I want to portray. That's why I do the thing I do. but anyway, as far as a pageant, I mean, what she said, you know, applies even to like the bodybuilding. And I think that, you know, just because we're females and that's the way people like to, like, okay, it's almost like they're saying, okay, we give you permission to have big muscles, but you still got to have long flowing hair and still got to wear some jewelry or something. And so it is, you know, kind of like a double standard type thing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the suits used to be kind of just plain. It was, you know, it's funny because you think about it, you were just like, you know, it was like on a Saturday and it was either like in a high school auditorium or like the community center or something. And, you know, you paid your dues or whatever, or you paid your entry fee and you went in and you did whatever. And now it's like, you know, it's an expensive hobby. I mean, you know, there's the, you know, it's not just your personal stuff. It's your travel, it's your hotel room, it's, you know, and, so it's really turned into, you know, something much, much bigger than that. And so I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying it's funny how I think how I've seen bodybuilding go through those kinds of changes where women just put on kind of like a plain posing suit. I mean, I don't know if anybody ever watched Pumping Iron the Women. I don't know if anybody ever watched that, but it's so funny because in it, Rachel McLish she has a suit and it has like some sparkle or something on it. And the IFBB is asking her if she has another suit. And she's like, no, this is the only one I have. And there was sparkle on it. And then you look at the suits today and you're like, oh my God, they're crystalled out. You know, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just kind of interesting.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting thing to get a few different people. You know, what we should do is purposely try to find somebody that had like some differing opinions so that we could all talk about, you know, kind of like that.
That would be awesome.
Even, you know what? Even if we could get somebody like the Francis, you know, from the back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Now, you know, that would be cool.
That would be to kind of get her perspective. You know, she actually was actually quite controversial. I don't know if you've ever watched it, but if you get a chance, YouTube it and see what you think. She actually was, I think, competing for the first time in bodybuilding on that documentary. And she was much larger than the other women. And it was quite controversial.
She was one of the first, she came from powerlifting. She was one of the first powerlifters I ever looked up to. We were in the same weight class.
Oh, wow. Exactly. I mean, and in there, you know, she definitely, you know, they talk about it, her being much larger. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting to watch and see the if people saw that as opposed to how bodybuilding is today, I just wonder what people's thoughts would be on that.
Yeah.
You know, seeing the difference.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay. We'll put that together. But, But definitely, you know, Carol and I just kind of wanted to talk and have our discussion, you know, because we chat, you know, I know Carol very well and we talk and, you know, to just that, you know, putting this in coming at it from a different perspective, that of one where, this can be a good thing. It kind of is a good thing. I'm not saying, people don't use it for evil or whatever, but I'm just saying that that it definitely, it has its pros, and there's definitely nothing wrong with anybody doing anything responsibly. Using social media as a way to put yourself out there for your fans can be a very responsible thing to do.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of topics we could cover on female bodybuilding that maybe people don't necessarily or have not necessarily talked about. So it's kind of nice that we can even use social media for something like this.
Yes.
So
with that, I was going to say is, if anybody has any questions, any things that you'd like to hear us talk about, Carol, what's your IG?
I am Carol_lifts, LIFTS, lifts. Yeah.
And and that's pretty much what you use, Instagram, right? You don't really do Facebook, do you?
I don't. Instagram's really the only thing I use.
Yeah, and Instagram's good for me too. And I'm boss.bitch.x, or you can leave comments in the underneath the video here. And but if you want to reach out to either one of us, or if there's it's something that you want to talk about, some questions that you might have had based on today, please get a hold of us. And is there anything else that you want to say, Carol, like a website or anything like that?
No, that's it for right now. But stay tuned, you never know.
Yes, absolutely. And again, I'm with Blackstone Labs, so get 20% off if you use the code boss.bitch.x. And I'll put all of that in the comment, in the introduction to the video as well. Carol and myself, our Instagrams and all that information. So it was really cool talking to you. Thank you so much for being the first person on this with me. And
thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we will talk to you again soon.
Yep. Bye.